In a world of scaredy cats, boring pet businesses and unruly pooches, one top dog is on a mission to shake things up. He's transformed himself from a lone wolf who couldn't control a couple of chihuahuas into the UK's leading and most respected pack leader. If you're a dog walker, dog trainer, or dog groomer, then the Poodle to Pitbull Pet Business Podcast will help you stand out from the competition so you can make more money with less stress and fewer headaches. Here's your host, Dominic Hodgson.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 36 of the Poodle to Pitbull Pet Business Podcast. I'm your host Dom Hodgson and I'm joined by my very good friend Alex Wardle, the video guy. Hey Alex.
Hello. Good afternoon. How's it going?
I'm good, how are you?
Pretty good. Got my cuppa.
You have, haven't you? Yeah,
got my fire in front of the fire again. It's all good.
Yeah, it is, yeah. We're home comforts.
Absolutely.
Home comforts today. It takes us so long to set this bloody studio up and pull the chairs into position and me run the Hoover around that we have to just record many podcasts.
Yes, full disclosure. Funnily enough, your living room isn't set up in a kind of weird chair in front of the TV and other chair next to the fireplace thing.
Yeah, but it is, me and Beth just play chess all night.
Oh, well, there you go.
TV's a euphemism, by the way. Right, Alex, so today we're going to do something a little bit different.
Yes.
And we are published authors, the pair of us. We're big advocates of writing your own book, as a positioning tool, etc.
Absolutely.
Grow your business with video, and I've got 3 and a 4th one on the way. But today we're going to talk about some of the books that have helped and inspired us as well.
Yes.
Because we're big readers. Well, you became a big reader last year, Alex, didn't you?
Yeah, pretty much. Yes.
Did you just learn to read the year before?
That was it, yeah. Very good. Audible was a big thing for me. That really helped.
Audible?
Very high pressure.
Oh, mate. Go on, carry on.
Can I talk? We're just going to take
What's
the
in
piss.
this tea?
Sugar. Audible helped with my book consumption a lot last year, definitely.
Excellent. So you listened to more than you read?
Yes, actually. Yeah. Still do buy the odd one because, physical books.
So do you think you buy? A little question then. Do you think you buy more? Do you think you've read more since you started to listen to more as well, or not? Or about the same?
Like in general?
Yeah, just like have you? Did you read?
No,
more?
actually, yeah. I think I have.
You understand what I'm saying? Has it?
Yeah.
Has consuming the content made you helped you?
Yeah, it has actually. Yeah, I've made more of a thing to make the time to sit and read a book. Whereas the audio would be like, I'm driving, so I'll stick a book on.
Yeah.
With the reading, it's like, do you know what? Like, I was listening to that book earlier, but now I fancy reading that book and sitting down, at the time. Okay.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you? Before we get stuck into the pick of our business books that we've enjoyed and took some inspiration from, what are you a big fiction listener or reader as well?
Not
what
so
kind
much.
Of stuff are you into?
Although Naomi keeps saying that I should because it's good to read fiction and stuff. In fact, she bought me 2001: A Space Odyssey last Christmas, I think it was, and I started reading it, but then I just kind of stopped. But yeah, I like the non-fiction.
Yeah.
A bit of business, bit of like deeper life stuff and that as well. Yeah. What about yourself? You read all sorts, don't you?
Read all sorts. Yeah, I read a load of business books and dog books, mainly business books really. Old business books as well. I like to try and hunt out some old business books that I hear people recommending. And
right.
But yeah, fiction as well. I like fiction. I like thrillers and stuff. Beth reads a lot anyway, so she'll just like recommend the best stuff to me and that she reads that she knows that I'll like. And general yarns. I just like a good yarn, a good story. Who doesn't like a good story?
Exactly.
But anyway, so we're gonna talk about the top best business books that we've read lately in the last year or so. Yeah.
Yeah.
You kick us off then.
Okay.
While I open my Kindle and refresh my memory about which ones
yeah,
I've
you've read so
enjoyed.
many. So I'm gonna start with The E-Myth Revisited.
Cool.
By Michael E. Gerber, and this is recommended to me by our good friend Jane Arden, actually, because so I'm cheating here. Actually, I've gone on 4minutebooks.com, and it sums everything up for you. But it says The E-Myth Revisited explains why 80% of small businesses fail and how to ensure yours isn't among those by building a company that's based on systems and not on the work of a single individual. So, like, the big thing that he talks about is McDonald's. So he draws the analogy, which I think we've talked about on a previous podcast.
Yeah,
actually.
we have, because you recommended the Michael Keaton film,
Yes, The Founder.
The Founder. Yeah, great.
Exactly.
Great film.
Yeah. So
Recommended films as well now.
Hey, watch that film and buy this book. Yeah. So yeah.
And then buy a burger. No.
If you want. Yeah. So he basically says that most small businesses fail within the first few years. What it's like 80%, isn't it? Within the first 5 years, because people don't treat them like businesses. They just kind of do the day to day, and they don't treat it like something that needs the kind of sort of due diligence that a business requires, you know. And
They're
so
very reactive, maybe.
yes, very much so. In fact, he says that most people, I forget which ones they are. Most people are just technicians. So the reason that they start a small business, and like present company very much included here, is that you know you're a technician. You're like good at a thing. So good at video. That was my thing. And you want to turn that hobby into like a profession. So you do your thing. You build it up, and so eventually you can quit your job and you can go and do the thing, which is great. But business doesn't really work like that. And as we know, and as we've talked about before, it's not the best technicians necessarily who have the best businesses, because you also have to be a manager as well. And you also have to be a marketer and all kinds of other things as well. And so what he kind of suggests people do is to treat their business more like a franchise, like McDonald's, where, you know, it's like this massive brand that that someone can take. So someone can open a McDonald's and like run it themselves. They're the manager, but for all intents and purposes, it is a McDonald's, you know, because that's how like the franchise things works, doesn't it? And this was the same actually when I worked in Starbucks back my last job. It wasn't an actual Starbucks; it was a franchise. And so essentially, all Starbucks do with the company that is buying the franchise is they give a massive manual and say, this is how you run Starbucks. And so it's the systems and the processes to make sure that even though it's not actually owned by Starbucks, it runs like one.
Yeah.
And so he says, you know, you don't actually have to make a franchise, but if you treat your own business like one, and if you create and you implement systems and processes, you're going to have a much more stable and successful business. So I thought it was a really good read.
Yeah. That can operate without you being there.
Yeah,
you
definitely.
You have to step out and stuff.
Yeah.
If you want to, which I think most people do, don't they? You know, it's quite exciting when you're a one-man band, isn't it? When you start off, and some people remain a one-man band forever, you know, but it's like, for me personally, I loved it for like a number of years, just going out and doing the walking myself. I didn't mind working every day and walking all the dogs and doing the adventures and then posting the stuff up and, you know, and all that kind of thing. But then I had more ideas for other things that I wanted to do. And the fact is, you only have so many hours in a day. So if you have dreams and aspirations of doing other things in your life, that would be a good call, yeah. And we obviously covered staffing, systemizing, and recent boot camps, haven't we, as well?
That's right,
for this
I've
very
gone
reason.
deep into that, yeah. I would just finally say that the way he talks about this as well is quite clever, because he kind of... I listened to the audiobook version of this, and it kind of flicks between a story, like it literally reads like a story about when he met a business owner, like this woman who had a pie shop, and she hated pies. By the end of it, she was like, I used to love this thing, now I hate it. And I believe he actually starts the book off like that. Right. So immediately it's like, oh, who's this woman, and blah blah. And as you go through, it quickly becomes apparent what he's doing, and you think, like, oh, to an extent, I'm exactly like her. You know, there are lots of things about my business that I've grown to loathe, even though I got into it for all the right reasons, kind of thing. So it's clever how it's like bit of story, and he'll like use that to illustrate the point. You know, like when he met this woman and went through the process with her, and then he goes back to like, right, you know, non-fiction kind of thing.
Brilliant.
So, yeah, cool little book, that one.
Yeah, cool. So I'd add two more then to that particular kind of subject matter.
Yeah.
Which are Built to Sell by John Murillo. That's a good one worth it. Similar, it's told in a story type way, but it's all about systems and this type of thing. And The Automatic Customer is another one as well. So there's another two for
awesome.
If you are particularly wanting to, you know, dive into systemizing, if this is the type of thing that's floating your boat. But I am going to recommend, Alex. This is something that's just kind of snuck onto my radar. I don't know if it's a particularly... I don't think it is a particularly widely read book. But anyway, it's Monster Loyalty. How Lady Gaga Turns Followers into Fanatics.
Ah, cool, yeah.
By Jackie Huber. or Huber, and I got the Kindle version, and it's quite a short read actually. You can crack it off in an hour or so, but it's I'm a big fan of, like, I'm going to talk about another book in a moment where it's not something where you would traditionally think, all right, these lessons are immediately applicable to my small business, in my little small town, but they absolutely are, and the stuff that Gaga does about, like, how she turns her followers into fanatics.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, what you can try and do, and she has a special name for them. They call her little monsters, they've got special symbols, and she's very much about, like, the mission, and she's got, like, a mission, and she shares like her experiences and stuff, and talks about her journey and that to her fans, and so they come on the journey as well, and like loads of stuff about how she structures, like, she basically looks after her fans, she gives her fans and followers more, and the more that they want to come into her world, the more that she gives them. So, like, cool. Special concerts just for them, or special VIP privileges just for them, and all this. And there's all type of things that you can implement in your own business in a similar kind of way. So that's my first one. Monster
Brilliant.
Loyalty.
Yeah, like it. Very good. Cool how it's
Sorry, go on.
No, just how it's, like, you told me about that book a while ago, and I was like, oh, bloody hell, like a pop star. Do you know what I mean? I never would have thought you'd be able to get business lessons from that. But I suppose, well, why not? It is a business, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Big business.
So, absolutely. I like it. Cool. Next one on my list is a book by Rob Moore called Start Now, Get Perfect Later. And funnily enough, with this was literally just a recommendation that Audible gave to me. Maybe I just finished a book or something, but it was just like, oh, you might enjoy this. And was intrigued by the title, and then
what was the title again?
Start Now, Get Perfect Later.
Awesome.
Blue cover. And so it's and after I've researched this guy, he's quite a prolific sort of entrepreneur. He's got, like, lots of books out. He's got one about money, one called Life Leverage and stuff. But I mean, the clue's kind of all in the title. It's about how to start taking action and stop, like, dilly-dallying about and overthinking things a lot of the time, So a bit of it is, like, I don't want to use the word woo because, like, that's derogatory. But, like, some of it is about, like, you're in a game, say. That's more appropriate.
Which is important still.
Oh, massively, yeah. That's why I bought it, because I was like, we were talking about this the other week, weren't we, about ideas? Yeah, we have lots of ideas, but it's difficult to know how or which ones to implement sometimes. So this is kind of that.
Especially when we keep coming up with new ones.
Exactly, yes, yeah, exactly. So in this book, it's very much like, he's quite, not brutal, but, like, he'll basically say, he's very, it's very bite-sized. Chapters are very short. It's like 60 chapters or something, but they're really short. When you're listening to them, you finish them in like 5-10 minutes. And so it's very much to the point. It's very succinct. And his narration is like that as well. So it's like, if this doesn't work, stop doing that and do that. You know what? It's like very actionable. And I think that's the whole idea, is that the book kind of is self-evident to what it's like proclaiming. Do you know what I mean? It's like, this book isn't wishy-washy. It's like straight to the point. So yeah, I really like that. And he's got quite a lot of other sort of ancillary products and stuff around it as well.
So what was a big takeaway you took from that book then?
A big quote that stuck with me was, a decision to do nothing is still a decision. And that really, not that I'm particularly, I don't particularly procrastinate and stuff. I think I just find I'm one of these people who, like, I work on stuff that perhaps isn't necessarily the most important thing to be doing at that time. Do you know what I mean? And like, you can kid yourself into being like, oh, well, I'm really busy, but, like, are you working on the right? Yeah, exactly.
I'm not calling you a fool, by the way.
Cheeky bugger. But yeah, a decision to do nothing is still a decision. Was like, oh yeah, you've got to be quite brutal with yourself, haven't you? You've got to be quite...
Absolutely.
Yeah, just like...
Yeah,
brutal.
Brutal.
But I like it, yeah.
Awesome.
Your turn. What's next?
So I'm going for... where is it? Again, not a new book, but I think it's a book that people will... I've got a lot of value from. I've read it 2 or 3 times. It's Write, Publish, Repeat by Sean Platt, Johnny B. Truant, with David Wright. And these guys have a podcast as well, the self-publishing podcast or something like that it's called. And I've never listened to the podcast, but I've read the book. I've also read the follow-on book as well, Iterate and Optimize, and I've read a couple of other things that they've done as well. And they just basically, I mean, some of it's probably slightly out of date now as regards Kindle and stuff like that, but it's a belt-in read. It's quite a thick book as well, but it's got interviews and stuff at the end of it with people who have gone on a self-publishing journey and stuff, and it's just a great book to like get you started. On the book thing, I would say I've read a lot of Joanna Penn's stuff as well. She's another one who's written a lot of, her thing is like self-publishing, and hers are pretty good. She also has a podcast, I believe, and our good friend Vicky Fraser will very soon have a book out for her thing, because she is repositioning herself as what she already was, an expert at helping people to write books. So yeah, there's another.
Awesome. We'll like it. Well, do you know what? Now you've mentioned her. I didn't read her book last year. I think it was the year before. But Vicky Fraser's book is excellent, and I think actually has been quite instrumental in my business and the way I run it and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think hers deserves a mention. Business with Superheroes, because it's kind of like a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
Especially if you're quite new, I think it's like, I suppose the ones we've mentioned so far are quite specific in a lot of ways. Like that one's obviously about self-publishing.
Yeah.
Whereas Vicky's is kind of, she talks about publishing and then online stuff, offline stuff.
Yeah, and a business journey and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like money and things, attitude to money and marketing, positioning. She covers like a lot of stuff. And we actually bought her book as a Christmas present for a family member of Naomi's who's just started his own business as well, just like packed in the day job.
Excellent.
And that was the first one I thought of for that kind of thing.
Oh,
so.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
She gets enough fucking mentions on this podcast.
Okay, I retract that.
Just kidding, Vicky. We love you. Right. Who's next for you then?
I'll do another one then. Which one? So I've got a short list. Which one should I pick?
Shortest one.
The shortest one. I'm gonna go with. Why is this so hard? I'm gonna pick the 12-week year.
Cool.
12 years ago. You've read that, haven't you? You've read most of it or something?
No, I read it, yeah.
You read it? We mentioned this actually a few weeks ago as well, how a year is too long a period of time to even consider in the human brain, isn't it? It's and this is quite pertinent, obviously, it's just been like New Year and stuff. And it's like, oh, well, this year I'm going to do this, blah, blah, blah. And we usually like completely overestimate what we can do, or underestimate a lot of the time as well, don't we? Because it's like 12 months is far too long to. There's like no accountability. There's very little accountability, isn't there?
For sure.
And that's why people leave things like the tax returns and stuff to the last minute.
I don't know what you mean.
Neither do I. So a friend told me. So the 12-week year in the title.
Yeah.
You look at it's not even quarterly, is it? He says like this is not the same as quarterly. This is like literally treating 12 weeks like a year, and like you'll value your time so much more if you do that.
Yeah, that's a really important distinction that you just said there as well. You know, it's not just about saying I'm going to chunk up. Well, it is about saying I'm going to chunk up the year into 4 parts, but it's about.
It's like each one is distinct, isn't it?
Yes. And I mean, they will, your goals will flow from one quarter to the next, won't they? They probably should do anyway, but at the same time, if you treat it like a single entity, then you'll get more shit done. And this is obviously what I practiced at John's Elite and stuff, and it's how we run it inside the Diamond coaching group and Platinum coaching groups as well.
Right.
12-week bursts, 90-day goals. And
because it's like long enough that you can get a lot of shit done, but short enough so that you can see the end. It's like,
totally, yeah. And measure it along the way. And,
yeah, exactly. Like I wrote it out in my notebook, like flipped the page around and like did a thing, like split it up into 12. And then once week 1 was done, I was like, holy shit, like we're really like romping along here. Like week 12's there.
That's right.
It's like it's coming up, and it really does. But it's not meant to make you feel like panicky or whatever. It's more just like.
No, and it helps with planning, as we talked about before, when, if you get a bright, shiny object that grabs your attention, you can quite easily say, well, do you know what? Like, I'm gonna just put a pin in that, and I'm gonna, if it's still a good idea, if it's a good idea now, if it's a good enough idea in 6 weeks' time, when I start my next 90-day goals, it can go in that one, can't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So
right.
It helps you with planning and helps you get more shit done. Yeah,
that's right.
100%. Good choice.
So, got time for one more, I think.
Awesome. Right. So I'll go with. Oh, tricky. Well, I'm gonna shove 2 in, Alex. All right, because.
No, you'll have to be quick.
Okay, go on. Pressure.
Also, not a euphemism.
The fire's on. He's feeling romantic, folks. Yeah, I don't know what's in that tea, but Anyway. So I'm going to plug Dan Kennedy book very quickly. Everybody should read a Dan Kennedy book, and I should probably plug Market into the Affluent. I talk about Dan a lot.
That's the purple one.
It's the purple one, yeah, it's a big purple one. Oh, God, there we go, we're off again. Roger's Profanosaurus. But the other one I'm going to plug is The Everything Store by Brad Stone. Jeff Bezos and the Age of Amazon, and it's another one. I'm quite a fan of these books now, where we talked about it inside of the Diamond Group, haven't we? Where we talked about Amazon and Apple and Disney and these type of companies, where they're like these huge behemoth companies, but there's like so much you can take away from what they do on their big scale and implement it on a much smaller scale in your business, because it'll work. And just seeing the Amazon journey, like where it came from and where he took it to, and how it's so like customer focused, it's why it has like, apart from the BBC, it has the best website in the world, because it just knows what you like, and it's expert at getting you to part with your cash, not by hoodwinking you or anything like that, but just by providing stuff that it knows that you like.
Exactly, yeah.
So that will be a one. I think we've got a nice little diverse collection there, haven't we?
I think we have. We've got like maybe 10 or so, haven't we?
Yeah, maybe at least 7 or... Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Any others you want to shove in the mix before, or we not got time?
I could certainly mention them. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is a good one.
That was one of the first ones you mentioned in one of the first podcasts.
That's right. Actually. Yeah. It's a big old book. It took us like 12 hours to listen to or something. But it's good. It's really good. Again, more like in a game kind of thing. But I really enjoyed that. The Magic of Thinking Big is another good one for that. If you're like me and sometimes you're your own worst critic kind of thing, then that's a good one. 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. Get your act together and clean your room is the one-line summary of that one. I'll say no more. Rich Dad, Poor Dad for like money attitude. Really enjoyed that. Especially the stories in that. Yeah. I like the attitude towards money. Money is not a bad thing.
Cool.
And
you better plug your own book as well, Alex.
Yeah, I'll go on then. Yeah, okay. Grow Your Business with Video is probably the best book I've read all year.
Certainly the best book you wrote.
Yes.
So far.
By default. Yes, so far. My book, the clue is in the title. Not only will it teach you how to make videos that look and sound better in the first place, but also how to actually use them in your marketing system, which no one talks about, and what kinds of videos you should be creating, which is also something that not many people talk about as well.
Definitely. Brilliant.
And you have a few books as well, don't you,
John? I would highly recommend that one as well, Alex. Obviously, I would. I'll have two of you sitting opposite me. But yeah, I would. So yeah, we've got How to Be a Dog Superhero was my first book. That's a general kind of dog training book. Shows you how to go from being a disinterested owner to your dog superhero in just 6 weeks. Walk Yourself Wealthy is a dog walker's business book, but loads of applicable actions for dog trainers and for groomers as well. Yeah. Quick read that one. And the latest one is Worry Free Walks. And in Worry Free Walks, I deconstruct the dog walk and give you a step-by-step action plan that'll get you from the front door to the park and back again without any lunging, pulling, barking, or shouting from you, the owner. And just generally make your dog owning experience a lot more enjoyable. So you can get them on Amazon, Audible, and you can get the paperbacks from Amazon too.
Indeed. And more coming out because Worry Free Walks is part of a series, isn't it?
It is, yeah. That's the Street Smart dog training series. That's book 1. Book 2 is the Perfect Puppy Recipe, which should be out. My goodness. It might even, Alex, it might be available for pre-sale on Amazon now. Or if it's not, it will be very, very soon.
Awesome.
But it might, because we've pre-recorded this, ever so slightly before we did it, it may be, it should be available for pre-order. How's that for a deadline for myself?
Pretty good. I like that, yeah. Spur you on.
Accountability. We can always cut this out.
Yes, we can.
Brilliant. So, thanks for listening, folks. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please pick up one of our books. Because you'll enjoy them as well. Leave a review on iTunes for us and share this podcast with a pet business owning friend.
Spread the love.
Spread the love. Yeah. Because we want to grow this. I want to get more people thinking more about how to market the business better, and these books will certainly help, and getting them interested in the podcast will help us along lessons out.
Absolutely.
So, Alex, that's it from me.
That's it from him.
It's easy for you to say. We'll see you next week, folks.
Bye-bye.
Remember, peeps, if you like what you hear and you want to learn more from the UK's leading and most controversial pet business coach, then go to www.growyourpetbusinessfast.com now.